Free agency is afoot, so we had to get a stream in here in the world of the big board where the rookies are up in the air. The free agents have new landing spots. Nobody knows what to do. Today, we're going to talk about the players I love, the landing spots of free agency, the players I hate, the free agency landing spot / the trade spot for the man in the thumbnail. Of course, I'm already in a draft room as well. We're going to go team by team in alphabetical order today, talk about all the player moves, but I am once again in the Influential 101, the irony of me being currently without an underdog deal, getting another 101 here on stream. We'll go Jamar Chase, who unaffected by free agency as the Bengals really are overall. They're bringing in Mike Gesicki again, so that's a positive. The Bengals currently a team that is not doing enough. But let's go team by team here, alphabetical order. So we're going to be doing a draft the same time here, but the big thing today is going to be catching up on all the free agent moves, trying to make some assumptions here. Also going to try to highlight some guys that I think are really important. And spoiler alert, Josh Palmer going for free in drafts. Some sharp people I've seen, Fantasy Dog Pound, one of those guys, taking him in the 18th round before, everybody just sits around and accidentally grabs him. Josh Palmer got really big money from the Bills, which I'll talk about in a moment. Big money going for free. He's probably one guy that is absolutely an edge at this point in the big board with people not drafting him enough. But team by team here. So Arizona. And I guess should I just read everybody? I don't know that we care about offensive line or, offensive linemen maybe a little bit, but outside linebackers definitely don't think we care about too much. Let's just say the key players here signed. So for the Cardinals, they signed Josh Sweat. It's really the only big addition they've had. Also bringing in Jacoby Brissett as their backup QB for a 2-year deal. So nothing too exciting. Kind of surprised the Cardinals aren't trying a little bit more to make a move, but Josh Sweat, the kind of guy that'll help improve that defense a little bit more, and that's clearly a team defensive-minded head coach, formerly a DC for the Eagles, and Jonathan Gannon. Now you're expecting him, I guess, to try to make more defensive things happen. Atlanta Falcons, they brought back Jake Matthews on offense. That's kind of important. Signed nobody offensively. They had their obviously big splurge last year, but Divine Diablo at linebacker, Leonard Floyd at the edge, another guy, part of the mass exodus from the Niners. But Atlanta, not a whole lot of moves that matter for fantasy. Baltimore, adding DeAndre Hopkins. I've seen some tweets out there, and also keeping Ronnie Stanley, who was one of the offensive linemen that some of the people out there, some of the teams out there were really hoping would get. For the Ravens, adding DeAndre Hopkins, I think for the casual players out there, they might think that move matters. They might think that's something that, oh, here he is. He's like, I saw a tweet from, I think it was actually our pal Sal Vetri, who was like, DeAndre Hopkins coming to be the wide receiver 2/3. He's really coming in to be the wide receiver 3/4. He's really practically coming in to be Nelson Aguilar in that offense and have a few days where he gets a few touchdowns. He's certainly a guy that the Chiefs are still willing to target in the end zone, as we talked about some of the DFS slates down the home stretch of the season. But for the Ravens here, not a big move. Hopkins coming in probably makes it less likely Tez Walker gets there, I guess, but really not a lot of impact for fantasy or in general. Though he is draftable. If you have Lamar, you're going into the end of a draft, taking DeAndre Hopkins seems fine. If he were to come up to God forbid, high 100, 100 to 120, let's say, I would not want to chase him up there. Buffalo Bills, the big deal for Josh Allen, $330 million overall, a little less of that guaranteed. But the big additions on offense, and also they are bringing back Ty Johnson, which does matter. Did re-sign Khalil Shakir, that does matter. Josh Palmer, though, 3 years, $36 million. We're talking about a deal that's not that far off from Darnell Mooney was last year. And that we kind of saw, too, Mooney in a similar player where I think Josh Palmer grades out better in terms of earning targets, what he did for the Chargers, being able to play out of the slot, play out wide, all of that. For Josh Palmer, though, to me, really reminded me of Mooney because, number one, the price tag. Number two, it's like a player you didn't hear much about heading into free agency, player that was certainly in the lists and whatever, but wasn't like, oh, this guy's going to be a day one signing a team was out of the way to get. Mooney was, that or close to it for Atlanta. Palmer being that for Buffalo, I think matters. And the fact, too, that he's got kind of a duplicative skill set of Khalil Shakir. Obviously, Keon Coleman, more your traditional boundary receiver that can go up and get it, at least theoretically, even though he didn't go up and get it very much last year. Palmer seems like they'll have a type in Buffalo with Shakir and Palmer, and I think both guys have equal merits at this point for kind of bringing similar things to the table. We're on the clock here with the 0-0-1-0 build. So we have our one receiver in Jamar Chase. We got some clarity on the Jets with Garrett Wilson going to be teaming up with his college teammate and Justin Fields. T. Higgins is always here as well. I've never been crazy about Josh Jacobs the spot, and I will continue to not be crazy about him here. I will go T. Higgins. Don't think we're going to get Jaden Daniels back, which makes me a little apprehensive. I'll take a McLaurin, who's ADP. It's currently in a little bit of a free fall because adding Deebo Samuel. So I'm actually going to go Garrett Wilson here. So 0 RB starts so far. Chase Higgins, the Cincinnati double that I think is too easy to take at this spot, kind of like the Dolphins double was in previous years. The Lamar, Mark Andrews stack was last year. It just lines up too well ADP-wise. We're going to do it here like a simpleton. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Check out the chats as well. Shout out our guy Kendrick here. First chat in for the day. I am starting early. Again, just wanted to kind of get going. Mentioned the Discord. I was just sitting around and I'm not going to be here for Friday. I want to keep doing Friday streams until we figure out a more regular schedule with some partner here, whether it's Underdog or somebody else out there. But basically couldn't do Friday because we're gonna be on a little family vacation with the wife's family. So I mentioned on the NBA channel a few times. So you get me on Wednesday here, catching up on everything from free agency, and probably matters more at this point. I realized when I was doing some drafts the other night. Also, the Bills added Darrington Evans, or it doesn't really matter that much. Probably a depth piece. James Cook not getting signed yet. Josh Palmer on the brain. James Cook not getting signed yet to anything. I don't know that's going to end up as well as he thinks it's going to. If it drags out into the draft, if you have that James Cook holdout going, you run the risk of them adding another rookie in a very deep RB class when they still have Ray Davis there, have brought back Ty Johnson, have added Darrington Evans. I think they figure out something with James Cook eventually, but if he drags that holdout out and they don't pay him $11 million a year, I think would maybe be a price tag that makes him feel more comfortable, even though I'm sure he's angling for Saquon level money. The Bills just a little bit weird that they're adding an RB, bringing in Ty Johnson or keeping Ty Johnson if James Cook is going to be trying to put the heavy hand on things. Carolina, a lot of retentions for them, for the various mediocre players, and one good one in J.C. Horn. In terms of guys they signed, nobody on offense, couple defensive tackles, safety, punter, edge rusher, Patrick Jones. Really nothing to help out the offense at all in terms of offensive line either. So not great there. I've mentioned this a few times in previous years. There's a guy, John Paulson, at 4-for-4, who I think is still there, but frankly, I don't care about 4-for-4 too much. No suspect, but like they don't appear on my feed very much. I don't know what's going on over there. There's a guy who used to track basically free agent moves and would kind of base offensive line rankings for the year based upon which teams are spending the most money in free agency, in addition to the guys they have under contract who've gotten a certain amount of draft capital or contract capital or whatever. And that was something I thought was actually valuable because it does kind of show you like at least the team is trying to address something, trying to go to the way to get it. When you don't see a team like the Panthers who, really need to build from the ground up, not adding offensive linemen, I'm still in on the Panthers. I think Bryce Young showed enough. I think Dave Canales kind of showed enough overall in terms of the coaching, figuring things out, putting Bryce Young in position to succeed down the home stretch. So the beginning of the year where clearly he could not do what was being asked of him. So I thought things went well, but I would really like to see them kind of like the Bears have, go out of their way to get offensive linemen, go out of their way to build around the young QB and protect him and add some weapons around him. And they're not really doing that. Bears added more in trades and stuff like that, traded for Jonah Jackson, traded for Joe Thuney from the Rams and Chiefs, which are two good offensive linemen if you don't know the names, which frankly you don't have to. Everybody else on offense, really nothing else matters, added nothing. Retained a linebacker, cornerback, DT. They signed Durham Smythe is it. Also bringing back Robert Tonyan. Bears not doing a lot. Durham Smythe could upset things a little bit for Cole Kmet this upcoming year because Durham Smythe has some history with Ben Johnson in the Miami days, and he might be in there a lot as a blocking tight end, kind of like he's been used in Miami. We're up for 2 picks here. DK Metcalf, who I do not like a lot. We've not gotten to Pittsburgh yet, but I just don't see the point in adding him to an Arthur Smith offense, which wasn't already feeding George Pickens enough. Omarion Hampton's going to be one of these picks for me here. I'm going to do that. Metcalf, I really have a hard time getting there. Still like Chuba, still like Joe Mixon enough, even though he was really just all volume last year. Oops, there we go. My alarm to start Splash Play. I'm gonna go Chuba. I'm a believer in Chuba. Thought he showed me a lot last year. How the underlying numbers look for him. Chuba, only a 0.01 EPA per rush, negative 0.36 EPA per target. That's really bad. 15% avoided tackle rate. A lot of red zone work, 3.7 attempted red zone touches a game with the rushes and the targets. Chuba might have been better because of the situation than he is as a player. But we'll take him here. The start, we got the Bengals double. We skipped on Joe Burrow. I'm just going to see what happens there because I don't want to do the exact same draft I've done previously and that everybody does in this spot. So Hampton, Chuba, Chase, Higgins, Wilson, and maybe a faint shot at pushing Joe Burrow all the way around. We'll see how it goes. Where the fuck are all the scores? Sammy always has a way of leaving chats that make me feel bad. In between, I started early, Sammy, because I'm just getting the stream out of the way because I have a lot of shit to do today. So no schedule is basically it. And I see me being a piss boy again. Look, I don't know if the current ADP supports it too much, or ADPs in general support it. And frankly, I don't know if the lessons from last year support it either. But sometimes it'll align well. That's how it works. And GM, subscribe, hit the like button. Yes, please do this. I'm literally doing these streams at this point, not for free, because we have guys like Matthew here, like Sammy, who are paying members. And I do appreciate them. And that's really a big part of why I'm showing up. But I'm still negotiating against Underdog. Like, they take fucking forever to reply, which has been really, again, it's not great vibes, to be totally candid. But it is what it is. I got to try to get paid what I'm worth. So that's where we are with that. So I'm just doing streams right now, A, to get my takes out, because I do think that's something I enjoy, first of all, doing drafts and all that. But B, because like I know people want feedback, want advice, want thoughts about where the markets are going. So I'm here for you guys more than anything. Like, I'm not here really to make money off of this. I make more money doing NBA stuff. So that's the way it looks right now for things. But I do appreciate you guys being here. Hit the like button, subscribe. I'll still keep doing drafts again, like a weekly basis right now. And I still, once I either give up on Underdog and try to get another partner to foot the bill for the year, we will figure it out. But that's where we are right now, things. Let's keep going through team by team. So there's your weekly update for where I am with getting fucking no follow-up from a company I've done work for 3 years. It's a lot of fun, guys. Signed for the Bengals, adding Samaje Perine. Now, people were worried about this last year. This year, with what we saw from Samaje Perine and the Chiefs, where they barely used it on the home stretch, even in situations where it feels like Samaje Perine spots. I'm not worried about Samaje Perine coming in for Chase Brown. I'm still worried about the rookie class for Chase Brown, because they could add somebody in the 4th round and the 5th round who's probably as good of a pedigree player as Chase Brown was coming out of Illinois, who was also just a volume back, and we saw him be well with volume, or play well with volume last year, but still was not, like a world beater. Chase Brown's numbers, let's look at that real fast. He actually had a negative EPA per rush, negative 0.04 EPA per rush, which will happen when you get the volume he does, but it's, he's not anything special there. And 15% avoided tackle rate. Again, not anything special. The red zone work was pretty good. Obviously includes the beginning of the year with Zach Moss taking half of it, but 2.8 intended red zone rushes a game, 0.9 intended targets in the red zone. So like Chase Brown to me is a strong player still. But I think the big issue for him is like you're trying to hold off threats. And Perine, to me, not really a threat. He'll take some targets away for sure. He'll do more than Khalil Herbert did, but he's not going to be like a legit bell cow back. But somebody in this class, legit, your Caleb Johnson types, whoever you want to pick, could be a bell cow for Cincinnati. So I'd watch out for that. Thank you, Brian here, Pace Spags. Look, Brian knows best ball. I feel like Brian's tweet engagement's going up when I see my For You page, so he knows. But yeah, look, Pace Spags, I agree. But Spags also not going to do work for less than that. If anything, it'll just make me more radicalized talking shit about Underdog. Yes, I'm kidding. As I like really, that's the issue too. Is like I got no leverage, but it's just like I'm just not going to do fucking. I'm not going to be a sycophant for a site when they don't pay you. I'm not going to pull up the fuck Underdog chats, but I get it. Tyler, good to be back, even if I'm late, back in the office. I appreciate Tyler here. Tyler doing a lot of great streams himself with some of the young up-and-comers, not with the CUM version of the word in the best ball space. Make sure to check out Tyler on Twitter at Emo Cowboy. Yeah, but Perine to me, I'm not worried about. And shout out Kendrick, too. Thank you for the super chat, Kendrick. I appreciate it. And also for you guys, too, who are paying members, make sure you hop in the Discord. It is a value add. That's where I'm putting basically all my football takes these days in the football channel on there. So please do make sure if you are a paying member, just so you're getting adequate value out of it, join the Discord, get in there for the $5 a month tier. 0230. We got 2 picks coming up here. So we've grabbed a couple RBs that we don't feel bad about. Would have loved to get a Juwan Jennings back here, but that's not happening anymore in the 70s, I don't think. Jaden Reed, I'm not that high on. Brandon Ayuk, I don't mind. This is not my favorite pocket. I like James Conner the most out of this group, so I am going to grab him here. Some talk from, as we talked about from the Cardinals, more talk about using a split backfield with Trey Benson, but Connor, they have enough trust in will be there. Going to take one receiver here for sure. I mean, Jacoby Myers getting the Geno Smith, certainly a market improvement from the guys they had last year, even if Geno's not a world beater. Egbuka going to look good. Matthew Golden going to get drafted well, but just didn't earn enough targets for me to trust. Ugh. I'll take a share of Jaden Reed. Oh, no, I'll take a share of Caleb Johnson. Kill me. Oh, I hate Caleb Johnson. Why was that? I feel like if somebody were to look at the clock and compare my click, I'm pretty confident I got that right. And because it couldn't update my queue. That's why. So I got the click in. Boy, you tell you what, fucking for a day where I'm not sponsored by Underdog, you're fucking seeing the improvements of the platform right there. Couldn't add them to my queue because why? Even though I got the click in before the timer. That is infuriating. Okay, well, got a 4 RB start here with 3 receivers as I'm submarining this team. Unfucking real. Oh my God. And it just keeps telling me we couldn't update your queue. I get you couldn't update my queue. The pick is over, guys. We can move on now. Oh, fucking Christ. All right, fine. Fucking the team. So our final team, uh, 0-4-3. O'Marion, Hampton, Chuba Hubbard, James Conner, Caleb Johnson, who one of my least favorite rookie picks, who I've said from day one, thank you for continually trying to update my queue. I'm going to refresh the tab here because this is fucking driving me insane. Maybe they need to pay their developers in addition to paying Spags. I hate Caleb Johnson as a pick. Don't want to time out on him. He certainly can go somewhere and get a good outcome as like your power back / volume back who showed something at Iowa in round 2, round 3. But I hate Caleb Johnson at this range. Caleb Johnson to me is like a pick 100 guy, pick 120 guy. I am not there. I know people love him. I know some of the film bros. I love Thor Nystrom's takes generally over at Fantasy Life. I think he does a very good job actually watching college football, understanding historical, looks at that, and not just living in the prisoner of 1 year thing we talk about with a lot of college football people where they watch games and they go, oh, that guy wasn't good against Florida. I know we talk about a lot with Jackson Dart, but like that's what a lot of college football guys are to me. Thor does a great job. Guy loves Caleb Johnson, wants him to be a Minnesota Viking more than anything. I don't think Caleb Johnson's like a great player. Like he's not very fast. RAS is not egregiously bad or anything, but didn't avoid tackles, got stuffed more than you'd want to see a guy who is your power back get stuffed. To me, I think for Caleb Johnson, 21% stuff run rate for Caleb Johnson, second worst in the class behind another favorite there, Bashal Tootin for the people here moving him up in ADP extremely egregiously every single week. Yes, for Caleb Johnson, I don't like him. I especially would needed a wide receiver in that spot. That was a compounding series of errors for me and kind of thing that you don't want to do too often. Never seen a draft this far in with 4 RBs and only 3 wide receivers. I like it, I think. It's easier to do it this year for sure. But, as the ADPs get more solidified with free agency and players kind of going to different spots, it's going to be a little bit less easy to get good wide receivers for late, I would think. But we'll see what we do here. Again, I really wanted to get a 3 RB, 4 wide receiver start, and I fucked it up. Or really, Underdog fucked it up for me. Other acquisitions, again, going in alphabetical order. So if you're skipping through the show, I'm up to the Cleveland Browns. Kenny Pickett, traded for him. He might be the starter in Cleveland. Cleveland's still live for a QB in the draft, obviously. But Pickett played okay for Philadelphia. It certainly wasn't a world beater. He can run a West Coast offense, I think, in Cleveland. So that's certainly a pick. We got to get receivers here. We have a 0-4-3-0 build. Darnell Mooney's got to be one of them, I think. Like his upside to Michael Penix's offense, even though from what we saw from last year, Michael Penix concentrating more on feeding Drake London. And a 5th receiver here, I think, would be good. A QB would also be okay, but we have no correlation at this point. Tyler Warren. Do we go that way or do we just go Shaheed and the hopeful glow up for the Kellen Moore Saints offense? I'm going to go Shaheed. I think we can get tight ends late. We can get 3. So Rashid Shaheed here to get us made up a little bit at receiver. A 0-4-5-0. We've got O'Marion, Hampton, Chuba Hubbard, James Conner, Caleb Johnson. We couldn't push Joe Burrow all the way around, but I'm fine with that because I've have enough Chase and Higgins with Burrow already, I feel like. Chase Higgins here is our start. Very chalky start. Garrett Wilson added on top of that. Feel like with Justin Fields, people are going to be afraid of the passing situation, but I'm more encouraged by the fact that Fields was at least league average in every category playing for an Arthur Smith offense last year. Now he goes to a Lions, / a Ben Johnson tree offense, we'll call it now, because that's what people are going to call it in a couple of years when Ben Johnson is a star, theoretically head coach. Getting that Jets stuff for me, Breece Hall, I think you take shots at, though we don't know if the Jets' new coaching staff's going to fall in love with them. Garrett Wilson, they have to fall in love with because he was pretty good last year. Now Adams is gone. I don't know what else they're going to add at receiver that matters that much, unless they get like a Tet McMillan, and even then Bloom's off the rose a little bit in terms of some of the mock draft guys out there. So Garrett Wilson, I like a lot in his ADP. Pick 25 here. Darnell Mooney making up here. Rashid Shaheed making up here. I've been liking builds lately where I kind of take more projectable star receivers up top and then take your Shaheeds, your Moonies, your Marvin Mimses, your kind of spike week guys. I wouldn't say exclusively, but taking a lot of those guys from pick 90 on has been something I've been doing in drafts. So that's how that looks for me, but obviously not as good of a wide receiver room as we had last year for whatever that mattered. Going through the teams again, Dallas Cowboys. So brought a lot of guys back, paid a lot of money for Kevontae Turpin, highest paid special teams guy in the league, even though they do use him a little bit on offense and may use him more if they continue not adding guys at receiver. But they signed an offensive lineman for cheap. Rob Jones signed Javonte Williams for $3 million, which is basically nothing. Them signing Javonte Williams, though, means they won't bring back Rico Dowdle, supposedly. So that's a little bit of an odd one. Rico Dowdle was good last year. Rico wasn't like a world beater by any stretch, but he kept piling up 100-yard games, at least from the sheer force of will of Dallas wanting to run when they probably shouldn't have at the end of the season. But Rico last year, negative 0.02 EPA per rush, which is okay at his volume. 0.02 EPA per pass, again, okay at his volume. 16% avoided tackle rate, that firm league average area. Just didn't get the red zone work. Only 2 intended red zone touches a game. Part of that was hurt by having Zeke there for most of the year, but I thought Rico was good enough. You could bring him back for cheap, but clearly Rico wouldn't take the discount that they gave to Javonte. So Javonte was awful last year. Well, let's confirm that with the numbers. Negative 0.2 EPA per run. That's effectively not very good. 13% avoided tackle rate. Not very good. 2.1 intended red zone touches a game. So he did get that. Most of them are rushes. Javonte sucks, man. Not a big Javonte guy. I don't know that he's better than Rico Dowdle, but he's probably cheaper than Rico Dowdle. Spags, Marshawn Lloyd died in sacrifice last year only for you to respond to win BBM 6 this year. I hope so. I think Marshawn Lloyd's still a good pick late, but we have so many RBs early now. I guess we won't be going that way. Broncos coming up next. So they bringing back Jarrett Stidham. Jarrett Stidham is their backup. Added Trent Sherfield for 2 years, $6 million. So he'll probably take some bullshit short targets away, but mostly a depth piece, you would think. They might be in the hunt for Cooper Kupp if he's released, was the latest report there, and that would make sense to me. Move Sutton back outside full-time, rotate Mims, Franklin, whatever, put Kupp in the slot. That could work. So Denver doing nothing really so far besides adding defensive players. Offense, I think they're live to do something soon, but we'll see what they do. Detroit signing cornerbacks, defensive tackles, adding nothing on offense here. They'll rotate shitty third receivers, and it'll be probably the guess, and they don't need anything at RB. Or tight end. Green Bay adding nothing, surprisingly. Nobody added a receiver, so they seem happy with their top group. Obviously, very live to add something in the draft still. Nothing added RB either, only a guard and a cornerback for Green Bay so far. The big money spent on Aaron Banks at guard. Pretty good money spent on Nate Hobbs at cornerback. So Packers spending strategically, but not spending on the offense. We got Texans here retaining Darian Ogunbowale, which matters a little bit for special teams, third down stuff. Signing Braxton Berrios and Justin Watson at receiver. So signing this kind of bullshit receivers. Adding Christian Kirk in trade matters, but a little bit of a weird start for the Texans. Certainly trading away their offensive linemen doesn't make a lot of sense. All right, so we got a 0-4-5-0. We got Love and Herbert here. Didn't take old Jaden Reed. I'm going to go Keenan Allen for one of these picks. I still think he gets a good landing spot, though it does spook me a little bit that he hasn't found that landing spot after a couple days of free agency. Could use another could use a tight end, could use a QB, but really at this point, we're just not up at QB yet. Cam Scattaboo for a rookie I could live with. Ugh. I take a lot of Dallas Goedert in this range. I think today we're going to take a shot at Dalton Kincaid. So 0-4-6-1. We got Omarion Hampton, who I do like. Chuba Hubbard, who I do like, even though the numbers, looking through him again, maybe not as impressive as they felt in the heart of the season. James Conner, looking pretty good. Caleb Johnson, don't want him. He timed out on me. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, Darnell Mooney, Rashid Shaheed, Keenan Allen. I think the top of the receiver room feels okay. Obviously, having Jamar Chase will cover up a lot of warts for the room. I still like Keenan Allen at his price tag. I think people worried about the free agency thing. He, to me, is frankly a better free agent than some other players out there. Dalton Kincaid. Yeah, Adam, let me tell the room that when I want to do a keep. I think it should be pretty obvious if you look at the players I have, what we're trying to do. We're hoping QB hangs around a little bit, and there's some guys in the mid-tier that'll look pretty good. Let's see. Spags Overzet said recently on a stream that he's going to do a collab with you. It's going to be... Okay, is he? We haven't talked about it, but sure. Yeah, some bros indeed. Bros indeed. Shout out all you guys hanging out. Again, if you're watching live, just do hit the like button if you can. This is a last minute one. I didn't put up in any advance notice because I was like, wasn't sure I was going to do a stream today, but wanted to get it out before I go on vacation for a couple days. So please subscribe down below with the like button, leave a comment. And of course, all your engagements go a long way here. Again, the channel, we are a full free agent channel right now. Wild card channel. Trey Harris went at 118 in this room. Shout out to that guy. It's not a good pick at that range. He also took Geno at 123, which is also an awful pick. Allentown's own, not doing a good job in the 3-hole. Even if you love those players, you could take Geno at 142. You could take Geno at 147. Could have absolutely taken Trey Harris at 123. He basically just lost one round of draft capital there for no reason. That's stupid. Not the way to draft. He's not a badge guy, so, more power to him, but just don't do that. Oh, what's Geno's ADP at? I'm sure it's come up a little bit. It's still 165. 40 pick reach. Just throw the money in. Just light the money on fire. Free agents, keep going in order here. So Texans, still talking about them. Really spent no money on anybody. Their biggest signing is one guy, kick returner / cornerback Tremon Smith for $7 million for 2 years. Adding Braxton Berrios, that's a special teams move / just taking some routes at receiver behind Christian Kirk. Justin Watson actually might play outside a little bit. But God, just awful. Texans, I honestly don't know what they're doing. Between the coaching hires, hiring not, a pass game friendly coach. God, we were going QB nuts here. These fuckers. We really thought Penix would come back. Fucking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9 QBs in this fucking turn. Oh, why did I do a draft? Why do I do this? Yeah, poor Alex Earl. She gets to go to Houston. She'll hang out with Tyler. That'll be a positive. Not sure how to feel about the Daniel Jones and Indy. I mean, he's being brought in as like a sacrificial lamb, I would say, to lose to AR, not being very good. That said, like I mentioned in the Discord, he had a 15% higher catchable ball rate than AR, and not like he was 15% better, like 15 percentage points higher than AR last year. You're almost setting up AR to fail by bringing in another mobile QB who is, more accurate, but also not very good. I just don't know what they're really doing. Like, if you're bringing a shitty kind of composition so AR can win it and you build some confidence, great. The reports are that they wanted to bring in a QB just to they thought that AR played well after the benching last year, so they want to keep his feet to the fire, but kind of a weird situation overall. At this point, we're just going to take Bryce Young as the first QB. I thought we'd get Michael Penix back in a logical room, but we are in really just a moron room is what this is for a lot of these spots. Isaiah Likely will take here. So Bryce Young stacked up with Chuba Hubbard, not the most logical stack. Obviously, we take Adam Thielen later on. We got Bryce Young, Marion Hampton, Chuba Hubbard, James Conner, Caleb Johnson, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. We did deliberately pass up Joe Burrow earlier, just trying to push him, see if he gets something unique. Didn't work out. Garrett Wilson, Darnell Mooney, Rashid Shaheed, Keenan Allen, and a tight end, Dalton Kincaid and Isaiah Likely here. So just big 13-pick value on Isaiah Likely. I guess people not loving Mark Andrews coming back, even though that was very likely to be the situation the entire time for the Ravens. So making it up at tight end. But Jesus Christ. Been pushing QB, it's happening to you a lot lately. Everyone seems to be grabbing QBs early. That doesn't make it a good move, though. Like, I still would functionally believe that. You still have outs and stacks. There's still enough QBs out there you can backdoor stack. Even though AR at 150 doesn't feel great when they do sign Daniel Jones for 15 mil, that's basically a backup deal. Like, that's what Gardner Minshew got in Vegas, ended up starting, but they signed him not really to be a starter. It's what Minshew got in Indianapolis as well, frankly, when he was with AR. I think it was closer to 13 mil, but you adjust for the year to year, like basically a backup deal fully. So I don't know. I like AR still at his price tag. I think he's too cheap. But it's like just the Colts are not another team to me. Like, ironically, two AFC South teams where I just don't love the Texans are doing. Don't think it's that smart. I don't love the Colts are doing. I don't think it's that smart. That's how I feel about those two teams. Let's see. Next team, we got the Jaguars. Lots going on for the Jaguars. Adding Diami Brown as a guy who goes late in drafts, totally free. He's now their speed threat outside, who's not going to be covered as much as Brian Thomas. And this is really the first offensive addition for Liam Cohen's team. So look at the signal there. I would say Diami Brown, even though it's only a 1-year, $10 million deal, he's getting that, Tutu Atwell money, but double the DeAndre Hopkins money. Diami Brown, I think, matters in this offense. I would take some shots at him. Johnny Munt, Hunter Long being added, more blocking style tight ends to go along with Brenton Strange. Also a possibility that Tyler Warren has been linked to the Jaguars a lot, goes there. Or somebody else, like Loveland, I guess, could be a guy they secretly love. Would not be sold on Brenton Strange being your starter for Jacksonville, but it looks good based upon the signings they've done. Chiefs bringing back their guards, the big thing, bringing back Hollywood Brown for fantasy matters as well. They added Eli Mitchell, which I do think also helps a little bit for this team, kind of crystallizing what's going to happen with Kareem Hunt, which is I assume they're not going to bring him back. Eli Mitchell being a Kareem Hunt with more juice, but more injury risk, I think is where you're getting with that. It's not a great time for Pacheco. Pacheco, I think the ADP should probably come down even more. Though at this point, I don't know. Strange feels like the classic CLV guy that gives you not a lot of fantasy points. That's possible. I mean, look, the thing is, he was good enough last year. The hard part is that you have, a new, really a new everything coming in. How do you use these guys? Like, what do you want to do? I think when you're adding, Hunter Long and Johnny Munt types, it does seem like a pretty good sign for Brenton Strange being your lead, pass catching guy. But it also could be a thing where like they just want the tight end to block because they have enough at receiver. They're paying Gabe Davis money. Obviously, they want Brian Thomas to be used all over the field. You're bringing in Diami Brown. You still have Parker Washington there for whatever they like him or don't like him with this new staff. Like, that's sort of my, I think there's upside potentially for, a guy like Brenton Strange, but I'm not sold that it's going to be there. You could go off too, and that's fine at the price tag, but like, he shouldn't be a guy, like this guy dragged up Geno. Like, you don't want to do that for Brenton Strange. I would really warn against that. Raiders obviously acquiring Geno is the big one here. On offense, signing Alex Kappa at guard, a little bit of money, but not a lot. Otherwise, signing safeties and cornerbacks. Not a lot to see offensive will here. They're in supposedly early reports that they're in the hunt for like a power slot, but that seems odd given that they have Jacoby Myers, who should be that. Keenan Allen's a guy I've seen linked a little bit to the Raiders, so I wouldn't hate that. We're on the clock here with a 1-4-6-2 build. I need more at RB. Receiver, not a bad spot. Wicks is definitely underpriced for the Green Bay situation right now. Cam Ward. My God, QB is totally dead as well. These guys took literally every player. I'm just going to take Cam Ward. I hate this room. Like, this room, you don't all need 4 QBs in the top 13 rounds. That's not really how that goes. Let's see. Oh, Cooper, Wicks, Thielen, Pierce, 2-4-6-2 build. We need an RB here, but I still don't feel great at receiver. Thielen with Bryce would make that a little more live of a stack too. Let's go Thielen. I take too much Thielen bailout lately, I think. But a 2-4-7-2. Bryce Young, Cam Ward, Omarion Hampton, Chuba Hubbard, James Conner, Caleb Johnson. At receiver, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, Darnell Mooney, Rashid Shaheed, Keenan Allen, Adam Thielen. And at tight end, Dalton Kincaid and Isaiah Likely. So we have not hit our stacks well enough here. I'm just not comfortable reaching for QBs to avoid a room going batshit. I mean, we saw 15 QBs go from, including the ones that I took, from round 11 to round 14. Ugh, not my fave. Pete said several times, but getting back on a stream with you, it means just reach out, get it scheduled so we have for June. Yeah, we'll get there. I'm not really too worried about it. I love Pete very much, but it is kind of a two-way street. It's also because you guys ask about it in chat, so then he has to give a reply. But I love Pete. We'll do something at some point, but I'm honestly more focused on figuring out like what I'm doing for the year with if I have to, get another sponsor. It's really where my focus is. But seeing that in NBA, it's a lot of time. But I appreciate you guys pushing that, and I will certainly get it done with Pete at some point soon. And I'm sure I'll see him for the NFL draft stuff on ship chasing. I think I've been on that every year, so I probably will be on there with him too. Najee Harris going to the Chargers. That one is the big deal for the Chargers. Not bringing back Gus Edwards also frees it up for Najee. Najee's going to be your power back. I would assume at this point, Dobbins probably priced himself out of coming back as well, unless no other deal materializes. So I think for Najee Harris, I think he's a strong play here. This contract, $5.25 million. Really not a good deal. Like, we're talking worse than Miles Sanders got in Carolina a couple years ago. Chargers have been cheap / economical at RB. So maybe they're just smarter than the rest of the league because they picked J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards off the scrap heap last year. Clearly it worked well enough, even though they didn't really win anything, but made the playoffs. So that mattered. Like, Najee could be a great signing here. It's just odd to see him be that cheap. He's a player that people are now going to flock towards. Like, where did he go in this draft? Najee went 77 here, so he's up like 50 spots where he's going, at least 40. Man, price tag's moving hot and heavy here. I probably wouldn't take that leap personally. Let's see. Spags the best take on the take cast? What take on the take cast? I have no idea what you're talking about. Because I know it's a show that Davis does, but I don't know anything about it. I've never been on it. Devontae Adams going to the Rams. Obviously, that matters a lot. Expectation here would be that he's your new Cooper Kupp with probably more juice left at this point. Adams last year, and let's compare the numbers. Not Tyler Adams. I don't care about him. Devontae Adams commanding targets at a 29% rate. .09 EPA per target's not great. 1.9 red zone intended touch to game, pretty good for Devontae Adams. Cooper Kupp, .07 EPA per target, so basically flat with Devontae Adams last year. 30% target per route run, also basically flat. So if he's stepping into that role, it's what he's going to get. A little bit less in the red zone for Cooper Kupp at 1.1. Kind of just seems like a lateral move to me. Like, I think if you watch the tape, probably Adams has a little bit more juice. Kupp, I don't think is dead. Kupp's getting treated like he's dead because teams don't want to pay his current contract. But I don't think he's dead. And I really don't know the Rams gained a whole lot by taking Devontae Adams, to be honest. But to me, lateral move, but still fine. The same way Kupp would have been if he were still there. Miami Dolphins. Adding Nick Westbrook-Ikine is a big offensive move. Zach Wilson as a backup also matters a little bit to give them some hedge against Tua if he keeps getting concussed. We have a 2-4-7-2 build here. Derek Carr, we have the Shaheed stack going, so we're going to go with Derek Carr here. Need more at RB. Nick Chubb is a guy who I assume will land somewhere at some point, though doesn't feel like a day one signing anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. I'm going to go Nick Chubb here. Wandale could also make sense with Cam Ward. God, the RB room is awful, even though we spent 4 top 100 picks on it. That accidental fucking timeout / non-queuing of Caleb Johnson is really hurting me here. Let's go Wandale here. So we got Cam Ward. Let's at least try to stack up a giant. So Wandale Robinson. Think we're good at receiver at this point. We got Mooney, Shaheed as our spike week guys. Keenan Allen and Thielen for the old guys, spike week guys. Wandale Robinson, hopefully just getting better QB play matters. We can take one more tight end, maybe 2. Probably 2 more RBs. I think we're okay. Glad I got a big Najee Biggie bag at pick 110. I think that works. Talked about this already. Not really impressed by it. I think they're still very live to take a rookie. You should immediately be better. The ship case. Yes, I mean, look, I always give good takes on ship chasing. That is for sure one of the rules of thumb. Let's see. You consider he got 100 times more money than Dobbins. It looks nicer. That's true. I mean, look, I will say for the Chargers, a team that I don't hold, at least coming in, thought they were just going to be kind of boomer, run the ball a lot team. And I do think they wanted to be that. They just couldn't do it because the team wasn't good enough. Then they started to pass and frankly crushed in the pass game more than I would have thought would have been possible. They could just be really smart at running back and realize it's like a replaceable asset. And you do have some Harbaugh guys in this draft as well. Edwards is going to go for free, right? So like maybe that's a guy that Harbaugh gives him a little bit last chance use salvation there, or just one of the other rookies who could be a big back. So I don't think Najee's like guaranteed. He shouldn't be going to pick 75, but with that kind of contract. But I think he's in a good situation. And I haven't said it out loud. I said it in the Discord. But like Najee was great last year in terms of the metrics that we look at. He avoided tackles. I think it was like 6th best in the league in terms of some of the counting stat numbers, but 21% in terms of the rate. Had a negative .08 EPA per rush. That's not that good. A .03 EPA per pass. Still got red zone work, about 3 intended red zone touches a game, including 1 target per game in the red zone. It's like he was used pretty well. And the Chargers will likely use him well because he's now their lead back, assuming a rookie comes in and is better. Or no, rookie doesn't come in rather and is better. But Miami, not a lot to love for what they did. Westbrook-Ikine, though, getting them out of the Titans. At least Calvin Ridley can maybe score some touchdowns now. The Vikings have done nothing on offense. Bringing back Aaron Jones is the big thing, but no new additions. Adding a guard, Will Freeze, for a lot of money, 88 mils. So that's a commitment there to protecting most likely J.J. McCarthy, perhaps Aaron Rodgers, if his own PR somehow turns into the team actually signing him. Ryan Kelly, they also added at center. So some willful adding of guys on offensive line, but mostly defense. Nobody else on offense. Which is a little bit odd, too, because like Addison still risks to get suspended. New England spending a lot on defense, edge rushers, Milton Williams, defensive tackle, Harold Landry, trying to build a Titans-y defense there. It's probably going to try to defend the run, stuff the run well, but be shitty versus the deep ball, which is what every Mike Vrabel team was for years. So I will highlight that immediately. I would guess the Patriots are shitty in the same things that the Titans have always been shitty at based on what they're doing. 3-4-8-2. Hey, Marshawn Lloyd. This actually works out well. We'll take the Kendre Miller shot. Jamal Williams release. No guarantee that we see Kellen Moore fall in love with Kendre Miller, but he can do it. And Marshawn Lloyd, we will take that bet again. Josh Palmer, still here in round 19. If I needed a receiver, he would be a great pick at this point. Can't be more clear. If you are in a room that isn't aware that Josh Palmer is here, take him. Just take him. I should have probably just taken him for the principle of it. We needed RB desperately, though. So we have a 2-6-8-2 build. We have Josh Palmer, great money, really great money. We got Bryce Young, Cam Ward, Derek Carr at QB, O'Marion Hampton, Chuba Hubbard, James Conner, Caleb Johnson, Kendra Miller, Marshawn Lloyd at RB. So the Caleb Johnson click really throws off this room for me. I would have rather had like a David Montgomery in that range as somebody projectable. We didn't get that. We had the non-queuing click from Underdog, really helping us out in every front. Kendra Miller, Marshawn Lloyd rounds out that room. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, Darnell Mooney, Rashid Shaheed, Keenan Allen, Adam Thielen, Wandale Robinson, receiver. I think the receiving room got there, even though we didn't take enough guys really in the top half, the top 100 picks. But having the Bengals double, getting a little more unique there with not having Burrow, I think is okay as well. We can live with that. Tight end, I think we need one more here with Dalton Kincaid, Isaiah Likely, but Likely was too cheap. Kincaid had to come up and grab. The pockets here have just not been good because these guys in this room are not abiding by ADP in any way, and that has sort of been a pain point for me. We got to get through a bunch of other free agent picks, so I am going to queue up another draft room, guys. If you want to play with me, you can, even though we're not really trying to encourage more gambling on Underdog right now because they're not paying me. We'll do another big board draft, so I'm going to load it in the background. Only 3 spots left, so get in there if you want. Let's see. Josh Palmer, deal is nice. Not excited about the Bills use wide receivers. Doesn't matter. He can get you a touchdown in a game. He's not going to probably give you 2-3 in a game. But yes, for round 18, round 19, it's good. Frankly, for round 12 to 15, he's also would be a good click. He's just a good receiver. And if you get somebody out there, he could consolidate like he's done in the past with the Chargers. So I would not sleep on Josh Palmer, but in particular while he's free. Javonte the Cowboys, someone hand me a wet towel. Are you saying you like that a lot? I would not guarantee Javonte anything personally. It's not enough money, and he also is not very good. And the rookies in this class, for as much as I could talk about this class not being as great as people want it to be ADP-wise, it's not like it's better than Javonte Williams at this point. To close out New England, though, they're bringing back Austin Hooper, adding Mac Hollins for $4 million, which guy will probably steal a few touchdowns in the Drake May situation. Josh Dobbs, the new backup for New England, but not a lot to love there. Big board also filled, so we'll hop over there in a minute. That's New England for you. We got like half the league left. So we'll go through the rest of the free agency teams here. Let's finish this draft. And this second draft, I am not picking till the back part of the round. So we're not going to miss anything. That works out. Let's give the team a read before this last pick. We got Bryce Young, Cam Ward, Derek Carr as our QBs. So had to salvage that QB. Maybe we luck out and get, I don't know, Carolina Giants. Or actually, no, we don't want the same stacks for the same game, so never mind. We got 3 QBs, though, who are all going to be starters, I would guess. O'Marion Hampton, Chuba Hubbard, James Conner, Caleb Johnson, Kendra Miller, Marshawn Lloyd. Feel like one more RB might help here. The Caleb Johnson pick just doesn't do it for me. Even if he's good this year, I just don't think that's the right ADP. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, Darnell Mooney, Rashid Shaheed, Keenan Allen, who is cheap right now because of free agency. The fact he's still a free agent is not good, but I think he comes up 30 spots if he lands anywhere, especially anywhere that's a contender caliber team, which I think is where he's going to go. Thielen, Wandale, and a tight end, Kincaid and Likely. Thought we'd get Theo Johnson pushed all the way back. That didn't happen. Zach Ertz coming back means Ben Sinnott is a real flighty play at this point. Mayer getting traded somewhere that wants him is possible. Noah Fant going to get some checkdowns from Darnold this year. I'm going to go Noah Fant. Do like the athletic profile and Terrence Ferguson if you need a tight end late, but that's it. So the final team is the one I just read. I'll read it one more time here because that would give it a timestamp. Final team here: Bryce Young, Cam Ward, Derek Carr, QB, O'Marion Hampton, who I do like a lot. One of the 2 rookie RBs I would take with full confidence, him and Ashton Jency. O'Marion Hampton, Chuba Hubbard, James Conner, Caleb Johnson, who I have much less confidence in. Kendra Miller, Marshawn Lloyd are depreciated assets on the late rounds. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, the Bengals stack without the Bengals QB. Garrett Wilson, Darnell Mooney, Rashid Shaheed, Keenan Allen, Adam Thielen, Wandale Robinson, Dalton Kincaid, Isaiah Likely, and Noah Fant is the last click here that does not show on the team. Second draft coming up. If you guys are watching live, please hit that like button. Please subscribe. We are going through every NFL team's free agent moves so far. I'm just doing it at a leisurely pace because we're doing a draft. So please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Your engagements go a long way. Super chats go a long way here. Because again, these streams right now, unfortunately, while we wait for Underdog to realize the genius here of the channel. But really, it's mostly me. And so either I have to realize that I'm worth less money or they need to realize that I'm worth more money. So we're in the old Mexican standoff. Everybody's holding guns to their heads. This is not how you hold guns, by the way. This is how we hold guns. Pew, pew. All right. New Orleans up next. They've done not a lot. New Orleans probably really live for the draft, or Kellen Moore loves the dudes in pocket already. Bringing back Dante Pettis, signing Justin Reed for a good deal at safety. That's all the Saints have done. So Saints so far live to do a lot, it would seem. Of course, all the young receivers go before the turn. We do like Ashton Genty. I can do that here. Do like Achane too, for the record, but I'm happy to get some Genty at this point. Though Genty is a guy, he's probably priced to the ceiling. I don't know that he gets, unless he goes to Chicago, he's probably not going to go any higher. If he goes to like Vegas, he probably stays where he is. We got a 0-1-0-0 here. Do I want to take 2 RBs and go Devon Achane here, who really showed a lot of growth in the pass game? Drake London, I like as well. I don't want to be fuck it. RB piggy time again. I've probably got too many Genty Achane starts. Feels good at the turn, though, and I'll play the GIF. I am fully an RB pig this year. The ADPs, I think, make sense right now to be able to do it. I think free agency is going to change it around enough where, frankly, from that room, didn't love the way wide receivers shaped up, pushing it too much, but I think right now in the big board, you can still be an RB piggy and live with it. So a Genty Achane start. I've brought Shane to my family with 2 RBs. We're doing it. Okay. What's we got here? Medium pace, I would say slow pace. Given the fact that I'm only up to the end teams in my free agent feedback, we're not going fast enough. And people want to know DK Metcalf. He's on the thumbnail. I've barely talked about him. Giants, bringing back Darius Slayton. Shocked. I am 1,000% shocked. Number one, Darius Slayton was Daniel Jones's guy. So the fact they're bringing him back for the biggest deal he's gotten for 3 years, 36 mil, shocking. Another guy, too, getting Josh Palmer, Darnell Mooney, adjacent money. So he matters here. If the Giants do get Cam Ward, which is still my thought, is that they trade up to 1, get Cam Ward, unless the Titans fall in love with him, which is still possible. This is around the time frame they were expected to kind of either fall in love with a QB or want to trade and maybe move around a little bit. If they get Cam Ward, I think Slayton very live. Slayton also coming back. Jalen Hyatt's got to be dead now, I think, which sucks because I think he still has enough speed and a good offense with a good QB. I think he could get there. But Slayton's your guy. Slayton, another free guy. He and Josh Palmer, we've talked about taking Slayton before. Like, you just need receivers in round 18 right now. Palmer and Slayton should be your first 2 calls, I would think. Signed players besides that for the Giants, it's only nobody new coming in. Cornerback, safety, defensive lineman, offensive tackle, D tackle, linebacker. They're just trying to shore up that defense and make it less of a disaster, it looks like. So they seemingly think they don't need a lot in offense, which I would say a good sign for Tyrone Tracy. Would still worry about the depth chart rookies coming in that could easily take some Tyrone Tracy work away. But no additions there, I think, seems like a positive. You'd love to see more offensive line coming in, but they did sign a couple guys last year. For the Jets, you got Justin Fields coming in. Besides that, only a cornerback for 12 mil a year. Brandon Stevens, Andre Cisco, safety, 1 year, 10 mil. Who cares? Justin Fields does a big one. Got to run a lot more. They've already talked to the media about, at least sources have from the Jets, talked about wanting to use him more in the run game, make that a focus of what the offense does. You have a very concentrated potential target tree here, even though the Jets are live to add somebody else, but Garrett Wilson should be your very obvious wide receiver 1 for the team, unless they add a Ted McMillan type, and even then, not sure that he's better than Garrett Wilson year 1. So I'd say for the Jets, I think it's a good situation. Fields, to me, wheels up. He was one of the guys I was hoping wouldn't get scooped there in that last draft when I had Garrett Wilson. But I think Fields, to me, very strong pick at this point with the money being guaranteed and him likely to run pretty well. I think he hurts Garrett Wilson. He wasn't bad last year. I think the issue with what his play last year was that the Steelers offense isn't very good. I did mention earlier, like, I go through his numbers. Every number is flat average, like his catchable ball rate, his on target rate, his completion rate. Like, he's just an average QB, but he was like an average QB in an Arthur Smith offense. And you could say maybe Arthur Smith kept him from his worst tendencies, and that's what made him an average QB, and he'll be worse on the Jets. But the Jets are bringing in all Lions personnel and offense. I tend to think that does tend to trickle down, where if you have the good offensive coordinator, a lot of the time the players or the coaches underneath him rather take up similar tendencies and then tend to do well with it. So to me, like, that's the part that I'm looking at for Fields that I think they can get the most out of him. And frankly, I like what I've heard out of Aaron Glenn. The fact that he just didn't run back Aaron Rodgers, I was impressed by, because I think a lot of coaches would just run back that same team, come in as a defensive minded coach with the Lions pedigree and just, get that 1 year of cover to be like, well, if these guys suck, it's their fault, it's not mine. He didn't do that. He just kind of wanted to overhaul the team the way that he wanted to, with the front office obviously in lockstep as well. So I don't know that it matters in terms of like a big downgrade, because I think the offense will be better. And even if it's not better, you don't have Devontae Adams there with his personal connection. And Lazard, frankly, personal connection with Aaron Rodgers, like kind of ruining everything for the other players. We have a 0-2-0-0 here at this point. Again, feels like a receiver spot. Receiver, though, not the most fun right here. Could do an easy Lamar Zay. Zay probably one of the players most due for touchdown positive regression. That when you add players in like Hopkins, it doesn't help. But I am going to go Lamar here for one of the picks, and I am going to go Zay for the second pick. Like Worthy enough. But at this point, I think getting the stack with RB feeling to me pretty secure with a Genty H-hand start. I'm just going to lock up a high value stack here. Hopefully, we can get one of the tight ends later on. We're going to do it. A Lamar team. There you go. I've brought joy to the chat. I like late wide receiver too much on DK with Palmer, Slayton, Lockett, and Savion. Yeah, I wouldn't take 100% Savion for sure. He'll probably get okay draft capital, but I wouldn't do 100% that. Palmer and Slayton, though, being free. Lockett's running out of spots. If Keenan Allen's running out of spots, Lockett's absolutely running out of spots. Lockett was pretty dusty last year. Keenan Allen still commanded targets, scored the most touchdowns, got the most red zone work. I mean, obviously, I'm very much in the bag for Keenan Allen, but like, I would worry about Lockett getting somewhere you want him to be. I also been a fan of Fields for the most part. I think his relationship with Garrett Wilson helps. And Garrett Wilson, liking the post on Instagram and whatever, for whatever that matters. Like, it's not a move that's happening without his blessing. But yeah, look, I think the main thing to me is coaching. You have a player who we saw could be average on Arthur Smith offense. I think they could be better than average in a Detroit Lions, school offense. So that's really the main thing for me with Justin Fields. I don't want to like drive him up too much in ADP, but the rushing upside alone makes him worth easily his current ADP. And if he gets any better as a passer / they scheme him any better as a passer and just use his tendency, he was a really willing deep ball thrower at OSU. He's kind of had that coached out of him. If you let him sling it a little bit more, in particular to guys who can get open downfield, like a Garrett Wilson should be able to theoretically, there's a ceiling for Justin Fields we haven't seen yet. So I like him. Saquon Barkley getting the new deal from the Eagles, which a lot of people out there have pointed out, one of the stupidest deals out there. They're giving him new money for no reason. It's the kind of thing that could really cripple a team if he were to get hurt or something. Obviously, you're hoping he doesn't get hurt if you're drafting him. And I am at the same spots at ADP that anybody would. But Saquon getting new money here for a team that's already pretty cap strapped. Not that good. They also acquired Dorian Thompson-Robinson as a backup. So if you're one of those people playing super flex at some point, maybe take DTR as your handcuff. Kenny Pickett gone. I don't know. Lamar to Zay all day. I liked Zay a lot last year. Had a tough time down the playoff stretch with him, not scoring touchdowns. And he is not a great touchdown scorer, but you can't put up as many yards as he does without eventually getting in the box a little bit more. So that'd be the hope for the third year for him. But yeah, Zay definitely is one of those guys coming in. I wasn't super impressed with his both the quality of competition and frankly his underlying numbers besides the speed score and all that. And he's one of those guys that maybe kind of want to be a little more balanced in our approach things and not be fully obsessed with the EPA things. Obviously, that's the underlying principle for everything I do. The data from Sports Info Solutions and the EPA metrics. But yeah, like I think Zay Flowers has been a godsend for that team. It always feels like they want another receiver to come in and maybe not replace him, but take work away. Like that's sort of the goal. At a certain point, they could find somebody who maybe does that. I don't know if it's going to be DeAndre Hopkins, but they could find somebody who eventually does it. DK Metcalf going to the Steelers. So that's the guy in the thumbnail. You can see my sickened face on the thumbnail as well. I hate it. I hate, rather from this Justin Fields talk that we're pairing with it, Arthur Smith to me is just a coordinator who ruins players. Like that's it. The QB who could run like Justin Fields, he doesn't ruin him. The Pickens, we saw some upside games there for sure, but that was as the only receiver. And Pickens' underlying numbers, not as good as they have been in previous years. His EPA generally is around a 0.3 to 0.4 last couple seasons. He was at a 0.17 this year. Only got targets 25% of the time he's running a route. That's not going to go up with Metcalf there. And if Metcalf gets a little bit more, then great. Metcalf's getting 26%. When this year he was at 21%. So he'll get an increase. And I guess that's it. Like maybe the situation will be better for Metcalf no matter what. And Pickens could be a guy that Pittsburgh trades at some point. Then probably not in the offseason, but maybe like if he doesn't do what he's supposed to do and it doesn't work, maybe that's the way that works out. But I don't know. I'm not in love with the situation there. We got Chris Godwin here. Great contract for him coming back, had better deals, pass him up to come back. Again, another thing there where you're getting rid of Liam Cohen, but hopefully keeping the same principles. For Chris Godwin here at pick 60, right at ADP, I can live with that. I like Juwan Jennings more than Pickens and Judy at this point, so I'm going to go Juwan Jennings. Jennings, to me, just a lock to be in the mix for really good targets. Demarcus Robinson, we haven't gone to that point in the alphabetical team order yet. Demarcus Robinson going to the Niners does matter as well. They've already said they are likely going to be using him in a lot of 11 personnel as your third receiver. So you're probably looking at, well, it could be a crush. If they don't get rid of Ayuk, it could be a crush. But you're likely looking at a lot of Juwan Jennings and Ayuk. Pearsall rotating in some amount there. Demarcus Robinson probably rotating in more in the red zone because he is kind of the Rams would scheme up. Basically, that's part of why Cooper Kupp didn't get a lot of red zone work last year. Puka Nacua, too, for as good as he was, didn't get as much as he should either. Because Marcus Robinson was a guy that Sean McVay would always be scheming up in the red zone. He has had that skill for pretty much his entire career, going back to the Chiefs days. So I think he's a player you can now take in Niner stacks, but he should make Pearsall come down a little, I think, even though he won't. Because it just means a little bit less unencumbered route tree, being out there all the time for a guy like Pearsall, or I guess potentially one of Ayuk or Jennings. Getting Ayuk traded would make that Robinson pick look a lot better and make the Pearsall pick at ADP right now look a lot better. Let's give the team a read here while we wait for the turn. We'll get back to the free agent stuff. So we got Lamar, Ashton Genty, Devon Achane. Zay Flowers obviously stacked up with Lamar, Chris Godwin, Juwan Jennings. I love the start. I got to say, we still got to stick wide receiver, still got to get a good tight end in, but pretty happy with this build so far. Steelers, besides Metcalf, adding Kenneth Gainwell in a one-year deal with no money that I saw attached out there. Also adding Darnold Parham for a one-year deal. Got to add another tight end for an Arthur Smith offense. Steelers just doing the same bullshit. Gainwell probably is just your pure handcuff for Jalen Warren to take some work away, but he's basically the exact same back, so I'm not really sure what the logic is of adding him besides that. Feels like they need like a traditional power back, and that could probably come in the draft. That feels like a Caleb Johnson fit, even though it's probably me mentally connecting Iowa in a black and yellow uniform to a black and yellow uniform in the pros. But like that's the kind of back they should get. So we'll see what the Pittsburgh Steelers do in the draft. Don't drive up Jalen Warren too much, but he's at a good price right now, being before 100. Niners getting rid of Kyle Juszczyk. A little bit sad to see for the historical Niner stuff there. Besides that, they signed Luke Farrell at tight end, 3 years, $20.3 million, seemingly to be mostly a blocker in those two tight end sets to allow George Kittle to run more routes. So one of those things that people won't talk about, but quietly does mean a little bit of a boost for George Kittle and the opportunity he's going to have as functionally. I mean, if they got rid of Ayuk, he would be basically the wide receiver 2 on that team, Kittle. But, with Ayuk in, he's probably more like the wide receiver 3. And in Pearsall or DeMarcus Robinson, your occasional spike week guys, I would think are more the opportunity for them. Besides Farrell, talked about DeMarcus Robinson. He's actually listed on the CBS list twice for some reason. 2 years, $9.5 million for DeMarcus Robinson. Not a huge deal, but good enough to note twice, apparently. And besides that, mostly defensive stuff. Niners losing a lot of guys. Niners getting hit hard with that cap crunch. So a team that probably defensively going to be less good, maybe more prone to shootouts. So that's a positive for the offensive guys that we do trust. Seattle, Sam Darnold gets 3 years, $100.5 million. Not quite the deal that he would have gotten if he didn't blow things for the Vikings down the stretch like we predicted, but still a good enough deal like we also predicted here. So I feel good about getting Darnold right, even though nobody saw Seattle coming. Just didn't think Geno was going to kind of price his way out of that team. For Darnold, though, I think he'll be good. Right now, it's a really clear Darnold JSN stack. They have to add somebody else because they have nobody right now. Getting rid of Metcalf and Lockett. Noah Fant being your number 2 target's not the way you want to go into a season. So for Darnold, I think they add somebody, maybe a couple bodies in the draft. Probably don't add a Keenan Allen type because that would really cut into what JSN can do. He should be playing out the slot full time. But they're live for somebody else is what, is going to be coming up for Seattle. And Darnold, I think, was good enough last year, even though you have to really give a lot of credit, I think, to the coaching. What are we doing for Jordan Whittington? I think he's right now, because of having Adams in, I really wouldn't have the faith in him having a good enough role. I think he probably rotates in with Tutu Atwell for the third, 3 receiver sets. Tutu got paid pretty good money. For Whittington, you really needed Adams to not come back, and that was your main hope. I don't think Whittington showed enough last year filling in for when one of Puka or Kupp was out. Obviously, another year of seasoning, he can get better. We don't ever want to throw guys out after year 1, especially with some of the lessons learned last year for guys like Quentin Johnston. But I would say to me, I don't think Whittington's really that great of a pick. To me, he's like your Yoshevitz type. Like he's if you're getting him for free, okay, part of a stack, okay, but you don't really want him unless somebody gets hurt. And even then, showed that he couldn't really move up last year when somebody got hurt. We got the Bucks retaining Chris Godwin. That's the big one there. Retaining a lot of guys on defense as well for a defense that wasn't good, so that might matter for fantasy. They also signed Hassan Reddick, which is kind of a big one to maybe help that defense get a little bit better. Also signed another edge, but nobody on offense. So their big addition was not losing Chris Godwin, which I think makes sense with how good Godwin was. For the Bucks, no lateral or no moves really, but I think you kind of expect the same there next year. All right, 1, 2, 3, 0 build here. All right, Agbuka goes. I do think the man, this is a tough spot because we can clean up with the Tampa Bay stack here. The McMillan's absolutely coming down in ADP. I think Andrews, though, I mean, this is a 9-pick reach at ADP. I think let's just get it. Let's just get Andrews. Feeling good about tight end. I know people are down on him, but he was perfectly fine last year after the slow start, especially. I like Baker and just being done at QB. But I could get the McMillan stack here. I get the Buck stack and then just need Lamar to beat out Baker. I think that makes sense. Let's go Jalen McMillan. I think McMillan, to me, more appropriately priced late 90s, maybe 100 with Godwin coming back. But he's your third receiver there. So, and he's going to score touchdowns. Even when Godwin played at the beginning of the year, they were trying to feed the ball to McMillan. They just couldn't get him going. Then he got going. So I think he's going to be good to go. Love Baker Mayfield here. He does fall in drafts, so maybe a faint chance he comes all the way back. But probably the Evans guy will take him, is my guess. So a 1-2-4-0 build here. We have Lamar, Genty, Achane. At receiver, Zay Flowers, Chris Godwin, Juwan Jennings, and Jalen McMillan. So a Bucks double, but with Lamar as the QB instead of Baker Mayfield. And a double stack here for the Ravens, Mark Andrews. So this seems a lot better, I think, of a start than that first one. Getting time down on Caleb Johnson, I just couldn't recover. What do you think of a special teamer? I don't think that's fair. I think, honestly, I think viewing any player like that's not really fair because so much of it's situational. If you give Whittington, again, if they didn't sign Adams, they gave Whittington the full run out, he'd probably be okay. Especially in year 2. But, if you kind of treat him like a special team or you treat him like a depth piece, he's going to be a depth piece. It's a lot of will in football generally because most players, obviously some players are great, some players are not great. But in general, it's how much will does the coach have in trying to feed you? What are my thoughts on Eckler as a late round RB? He was great last year. I was actually floored by the numbers. Washington, too, is also bringing back Jerry McNichols. So they're bringing back Eckler, Robinson, and McNichols. The beat reporters there think they might not add anybody else. They still could add somebody for free in the draft who's a rookie and might have more juice than all three of those guys. But as it looks right now, it seems like they're just kind of adding everywhere else because they've added linemen, they've added receivers, obviously in Debo. They've added some guys in the secondary. They've added guys everywhere on the front four. So they've added everywhere else. It does seem like they're okay with RB, which kind of surprises me because I think you'd absolutely improve the Robinson spot. You could probably also improve the Eckler spot, but what it is, what it is. Titans going through here up to the T's. Sip of water, please. We got Dan Moore, Cody Barton, Xavier Woods, Van Jefferson, Johnny Hekker. So nothing that matters for the Titans so far. Titans need to add some stuff. They got to be adding a lot in the draft, you would think. Receivers, obviously, Matthew Golden, I think could make sense for them. But obviously the draft capital might not align. They'd have to trade up or trade all the way down to get him in a more reasonable spot. They got to add some shit in the draft, though. If you're not adding anybody here, they're a team, though, you add Keenan Allen and you put in a legit QB, I think they would be logical. So I'd watch out for Tennessee to do more. Right now, adding Van Jefferson, that just doesn't matter. He at best is playing kind of backup Calvin Ridley stuff. I don't get that signing. Commanders trading for Debo, Laramie Tunsil. We just talked about that. Keeping a lot of their guys, including Zach Ertz and John Bates. So Ben Sinnott's route to getting on the field is still very much blocked. Obviously, year 2, you'd hope that he can get a little more work away. But Zach Ertz was so good last year. I would rather take Zach Ertz at, probably too cheap of an ADP. They also added Kinlaw and Harris on defense, spending a lot of money to make this a good team. But really, that's that. Is Tajay his last RB okay? As last RB, that's fantastic. Yeah, I would take Tajay as my third RB. So yeah, I think that's fine. Tajay was great down the home stretch last year. It's just the issue is that he's basic contingent value for Tony Pollard mostly. But Pollard another year. I think Tajay, let's compare the numbers. Also, that was the end of the free agent stuff team by team. So yay, good job, everybody. We did it. Please, if you got value of the video, hit the like button, subscribe, And I'll look up Tyjae Spears' numbers in a moment. But again, going to get a more regular schedule here, at the very least every Friday. Just couldn't do the Friday this week because of being on vacation with the fam. But please do hit the like button, subscribe. Goes a long way for me here. Just one guy running an NFL channel, running an NBA channel, trying to negotiate business things, trying to fucking do it all. And it's a lot. I do it as best I can. I think I'm really good at it. So hopefully you'll agree. If you're here, subscribed, and watching these videos every day, hit the notification bell too, because sometimes going to be weird. So Tyjae last year. Tyjae, negative 0.06 EPA per rush, negative 0.01 EPA per pass, 23% avoided tackle rate, though, had some juice. 1 red zone intended touch a game. For Pollard, negative 0.1 EPA per rush, negative 0.3 EPA per target. So he was effectively worse. 11.5% avoided tackle rate, also worse. 2.1 red zone touches a game. That was a lot higher in the beginning of the year, but then same thing has happened in Dallas. He just got less work on the home stretch between being hurt and not being very good. Yeah, I mean, I think Tyjae is still a good click. You run the risk again for those guys, like they could absolutely get, replaced / threatened by one of the rookies in this class, who are all kind of at the very least replacement level guys coming in. But I like Tyjae. I think Tyjae showed unlimited ceiling before when he was playing at Tulane, obviously in college. And then also, like last year, we got to remember he was a chalk play down the stretch last year when he actually got, lead bell cow work. And then he got hurt in that game, and that fucking killed one of my teams in the big board. I mean, and a DFS that week too. So, yeah, Tyjae, I think a strong click no matter where you're taking him. But yeah, it's the end of your RB room. He's a great click. All right, we're on the clock here. 1, 2, 4, 1. We could not push Baker Mayfield all the way back around. We do have Brock Purdy here, so that feels okay. We also have another Ravens receiver if I want to really stack Baltimore. I think we can. So I'm going to go the top 2 guys in ADP. A little bit of a discount on Brock Purdy here, stacked up with our Juwan Jennings. And I am going to go Rashad Bateman, who I think still has a lot of utility in this offense. Frankly, showed a lot to me as a downfield threat, guy who could spike occasional games. Especially when Zay Flowers fails. So 2-2-5-1 build here. We're kind of riding off RB for a little because Genty and Achane should make our lineups most weeks. We got Lamar and Purdy as QB. Genty and Achane as our RBs. Both guys taken in the 1-2 turn. Zay Flowers, Chris Godwin, Juwan Jennings, Jalen McMillan, Rashad Bateman. Good mix of youth and projectable, I think, floor here for Godwin. And tight end Mark Andrews, who I know people are down on. I reached for him a little bit here, but the stack feels good. We got another Tampa Bay stack that we do like without the QB. We add on Purdy here to get me through whenever Lamar isn't great. I like to see him. Are we doing Spags? Got absolutely destroyed in NBA last night. I had a pretty good day in NBA. Could have been better. It's been tough. Like NBA is going to go in waves. Today's slate's going to be interesting. My thumbnail guy on the NBA channel is Jamal Shed. So I think that tells you how the slate's going to go. Toronto's backup point guard. But yeah, look, NBA, you go through swings. I had I was top 30 yesterday in the 4-point play, and then it went down a lot from the Clippers guys going nuts. Played too much Giannis, which I've been locking guys on slates lately just to try to push my edge a little bit. Locked Garland, locked Jared Allen. That was great. Locked Giannis. That was not great. So that was the fuck up. And that's really one thing too for NBA DFS for you guys out there who do care. Obviously, watch my NBA channel if you do care at Splashplay NBA. But like the pay up guys, you always want to flatten your exposure down a little bit more. I don't know. I think that for some of those situations in NBA, it's really like you don't want to have too much of one pay up guy. Like even a Jokic, like on slates, we've had Jokic look great, and it's like, oh, then fucking center X gets 60 fantasy points. Got to be more mindful of not loading up on pay up guys. Value guys you can load up on. Do I think Jalen Tolbert is going to be Cowboys number 2 wide receiver again this year? I'm not sold on that now. I would say it's more likely than not that he isn't, but the Cowboys have been so fucking cheap. I don't know. Cowboys are live to take Tet. That would be honestly an insane usage of draft capital. Like for this team in particular, if you're going to hire Schottenheimer as your coach and bring in kind of regressive play calling as well, like tight end coaches as your play caller, it's going to be a run heavy offense. You really don't need a Tet McMillan there. You really don't. Cowboys ending up with Kupp on a discounted deal. That would make a lot more sense. But the issue is Kupp has to play at the slot. So you're going to CD is way better at the slot than he is out wide. So you really want an outside receiver. They needed, like, frankly, a Darius Slayton type would have been the better pick for them. I mean, Tet's an outside receiver mostly, but he might be one of those guys too that Could be a little more effective in the slot. His EPA was a lot higher in the slot. It's actually about 3 times higher. 0.6 EPA per target out of the slot compared to 0.22 for Tet McMillan playing out wide. They need, like, the Cowboys would need a Jalen Royals would be good for them. All his work at Utah State was done out wide, and he'd probably be more efficient. Torrey Horton could be a cheap guy they get. Jaden Higgins would actually be really fun for them. Pretty even out of the slot and out wide. But you don't want to move CeeDee Lamb out wide because he's not going to have as much of an advantage out there. Yeah, that's what the whole thing with Schottenheimer offense is like. They are pure West Coast offenses where it's like horizontal check down shit, but not even good horizontal check down shit. Like a Kingsbury where he got pretty good results with that. You're talking about like runs up the gut. Your hope for like a Schottenheimer team is going to be effective power runs and like your Debo kind of targets doing well. I hate Dallas, man. I hate the coaching there. I don't want to be totally out on him, but in my rankings, which I am going to have out at some point, I know our guy, one of our guys, whose name escapes, he starts with a B. I want to give him credit because he's the first guy to actually sign up for the rankings tier. I'm going to get him. Byborg, first guy to sign up for the rankings tier. Rankings, I'm pushing really hard to get out because Byborg did sign up because I've been slow playing him here with free agency and all that. But I will have my rankings out by end of next week, probably closer to middle of next week. So if you want to join down below, you can do that. They're going to be coming out soon. Point being was writing some of the stuff up, and like I really just hate the Cowboys. Like I really strongly do not feel good about the Cowboys here. And I have CeeDee Lamb ranked at the 1-2 turn right now, as opposed to the 6th spot or wherever he's going. I just have no faith in that staff. And I don't think he, like Mike McCarthy, like learned from previous fuck-ups, think that he's just going to do the same shit and try to run the ball aggressively. Hey, we talked about Tyjae Spears, and now he's looking me in the face here. Let's go Tyjae. I also think if we're getting weird, and this is a tough call, because I think Trey Benson is an okay pick here. Rico Dowdle, I'm worried about him getting a free agent landing spot, but he might get a good one at this point because his price has to come down. I'm also conceptually intrigued by something I wouldn't do in previous years, but it's a big board. We can add other tight ends. I'm just going to take both Baltimore tight ends. They could spike in parallel weeks. They could spike in the same week, theoretically. Could at the very least score a touchdown the same week. So I'm going to increase my Baltimore stack here. Too many Baltimore receivers. I usually don't do as many 4-man stacks, but for the big board, I think get away with it more. And for a Lamar team with where these ADPs are, I think they're the best players on the board. So Lamar with Purdy as our QBs, Genty, Achane, Tyjae as our RBs here. So another RB added in. Zay Flowers, Godwin, Jennings, McMillan, Bateman as our receivers. So a double stack for Baltimore. And our tight end room, also a double stack for Baltimore with Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. So yeah, functionally, I don't think normally you want to take both tight ends in most offenses because there is a push-pull dynamic there. Like last year, let's say you took Evan Ingram and Brenton Strange. Ingram never really spiked enough in the first place, but then you needed Ingram to get out of there for Strange to have any shot at usefulness, and then he also kind of fucked up down the home stretch too. Would say that for Baltimore, though, you saw a lot of 12 personnel last year, and you saw these guys have different roles and different opportunities, as well as, frankly, again, having touchdowns in the same game at least once or twice throughout the course of a year. So I'm cool taking these two guys here, but I like, and frankly, Kelsey, Noah Gray, I could see that with their prices. There are certain 2 tight end groups you could do. I wouldn't do all of them, though. Definitely wouldn't do all of them. But yes, for this particular one, yeah, for sure. Because at this point, too, it's like there's nobody else on the board at tight end. Like, I don't like Ferguson very much. Don't like Ingram. If he goes to the Broncos, we could revisit that, but I don't want to take that leap. Chargers with Disley still there. I'm not sold on that being the perfect spot for him. Everybody else tight end here, I don't know is better than Likely anyway, so I'm just going to take Likely. Like this team, though. I think this team is interesting. Still got to get a few positions right here. We'll see what lines up. Todd Munkin, I like the way you spelled it like Munchkins from Dunkin' Donuts. Because Todd Munkin does use both tight ends a lot in the passing game and did a lot more at Georgia and then finally started to do it more for Baltimore last year. So, yeah, I'm okay with it. Who was the better tight end in my numbers last year compared to Andrews and Likely? Let's see. Andrews, 0.6 EPA per target was actually incredibly good. That's a crazy high number for a guy with a 22% target per out run rate. So 0.6 EPA, really good. Earned targets 22% of the time. 1 intended red zone target a game. He actually got a red zone rush at some point as well. Likely 0.35 EPA per target, so about half as efficient as Andrews was. Similar 21.5% target per out run rate and 0.8 intended red zone touches a game. So these guys were honestly very similar players, but Andrews is more efficient. Obviously, another year of Andrews getting older, that can change. But frankly, I think no matter what, one of them is going to make a lineup enough times that I feel okay about cornering the market here and have a Lamar team. Anybody else you have to talk about here? Anybody else you guys want to hear my take on, I guess? No, I am the KY asking in the Discord. I don't know if he's watching or not. On DK, we're talking about, who's this? I was asking about Aaron Jones. DK Aaron Jones getting pulled up to round 5/6. What rank RB would I have him? I don't have him as like a hard number. I still do like Aaron Jones overall, so I guess I'll give kind of the holistic take. Aaron Jones, to me, got good money. He had one of the better red zone rolls in football, almost 4 intended red zone touches a game. He was also pretty efficient overall, if I'm remembering correctly. For volume, he was okay. Negative 0.02 EPA per rush, or actually a flat, positive 0.04 EPA per pass. That's where he was a little bit more efficient. But again, 3.6 intended red zone touches a game between the rushes and the passes. Your risk is that Minnesota brings in somebody. My God, this QB pocket. This is like the QB panic area, like where people just like, I have to get another guy. I have to get my second, third QB. I think Ben Bass might be in the chat. Like, you didn't need Darnold here, I don't think. I guess he has JSN. Too much QB capital going in this range. Like, QB's a flat position. You don't need 3 guys within 3 or 4 rounds. I don't know. People writing off Andrews because of his terrible start and drop pass could be a big mistake. Well, that's the thing, is like the terrible start led to like a great run. Like, he was usable almost every week down the home stretch, at least for best ball, probably not in terms of spike week upside. But yeah, like Andrews was very good last year. Just that initial run out definitely spooked people. We were thinking about, or I was thinking about coming up for, I say we, like we're all in this together, which we are. Rico Dowdle, I think 15 picks after ADP. He's really not getting drafted now because they just don't know where he's going to go. I'll absorb that risk here because I think Rico showed he's at least a depth piece at back, as a back. That's 4 RBs. Rashad White is a 5th RB I could live with. If James Cook holds out, Ray Davis is a threat to take a lot of that role potentially, like the real touches that don't go Ty Johnson's way, the bullshit ones that would go his way. Fuck. I think I'm going to go Rashad. Oh, the Q click actually worked this time. Thanks, Underdog. That's pretty slick. Got to make it up at receiver. Still, we're stuck at 5 receivers, but I think we're done at RB now. So a 2-5-5-2. We got Lamar, Purdy here as our QBs. Genty, Achane, Spears, Dowdle, Rashad White as our RB. My logic here for Rashad White in part is we have the Tampa Bay pass game already. Rashad White's going to still probably be out there in game scripts where the game is like very pass dependent because Bucky, even though he's more trustable as a pass blocker, definitely as the season went on, they still had Rashad White in blowout situations. They still had Rashad White in getting a lot of garbage time shit when the game got out of hand. So I think White's still got a role here. Getting him 8 picks after ADP, along with Dowdle 15 picks. I think that closes out the RB room here. A receiver, we got to get some late guys in, but we know some of the panic button clicks that we've talked about. So we'll try to get some of those guys. But Zay Flowers, Chris Godwin, Juwan Jennings, McMillan, Bateman at receiver. Mark Andrews is likely as our tight end. So definitely need a 3rd tight end, maybe a 4th too. Probably 3 more receivers. Done at QB, done at RB, I think. Feel like Chig's a great late round tight end. Thoughts? Any of those kind of not stellar tight ends, a risk to get a Tyler Warren in the mix. So Bretton Strange, I wouldn't trust late in terms of getting a lot of volume there. Chig, I probably wouldn't trust late. He was okay down the home stretch last year, and they did seem to rely on him more as opposed to the beginning of the year where they're basically playing him the exact same amount as Josh White, or Josh Wiley rather. Sorry. I'm not as sold on Chig as you are. This is, I guess, the best way to put it. Aaron Jones went round 8 in my last draft. Probably clicked that. Went 55 in the last DK draft. I mean, the PPR points are better for him. But, it just depends what's in the range. I haven't done any draftings yet, so I don't really want to talk out my ass with it. Get Chig early before Scott Barrett starts hyping. I didn't know that he was a Chig guy. But, yeah, I mean, look, I think Chig's okay. I just would worry that Tennessee hasn't added anybody in free agency at a certain point, like they could go a really offensive heavy draft would be the fear point there. That's right. Rod is MN Bass. Didn't want to take Sam there and other players I wanted. This is my 149th draft. Oh, wow. You have gone ham on the big board. What's the logic in doing all of it this early, though? Would be my ask. You really want to know free agency for most of it. And I say this again, it's a 3-time big board finalist in 2024. That's a lot of drafts. I know some of you guys out there are going real ham on the big board. I think it's still try to keep it flat, but I guess I don't know what the entry amount is. Are we close to filling? Presume not. Big board is 10% rake, 53% filled. That's a lot, man. That's a lot of drafting at this point, Rod. I'm only pointing it out because just for the sake of your EV, and that's what the show is about, guys. It's always about trying to extract as much EV as possible. Would try to balance out for the big board in particular, your pre-draft stuff. And this year too, there just wasn't as much of an edge. I said that on stream in the early parts of things. So that's why to me, like I'm just kind of slow rolling in. I'm probably not going to max out this year because of where I am with Underdog. Yeah, I understand the concept of CLV. You also end up with a lot of landmines around that. You're taking on more risk than you should, Rod, especially for something that it's like a frequent drafter. Just my thought. 2552 here. Getting good at RB. Receiver getting a little bit ugly here, but I think we could just take some fast guys and live with it. Jalen Royals fast, had the RAS profile to look good. Not getting as much buzz as I would like him to get because I do think he's really good, but that's fine. And a third tight end here, Hunter Henry. I think Hunter Henry, Zach Ertz, both similar appeal to me. Patriots offense, I expect to be really aggressive this year. Just don't think Mike Vrabel, Josh McDaniels going to do a whole lot. It's going to be terribly exciting. I think that helps out a Hunter Henry. So he will be our third tight end to pick 181. A little bit of a discount on Hunter Henry. Let's give the full team a read here. 2563. We got Lamar and Brock Purdy at QB, Ashton Genty, Devon Achane, Tyjae Spears, Rico Dowdle, Rashad White at RB, Zay Flowers, Chris Godwin, Juwan Jennings, Jalen McMillan, Rashad Bateman, and Jalen Royals, who is a rookie I will give at this point absolutely a cosign to. Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Hunter Henry. So those are some strong picks here. Got to make up some more at receiver, but we'll see what we get in those last few rounds. Wish you'd done them all day one. Rod, I don't know, man. You're sounding a lot like a gritty type with this approach. I'd really caution against it. I've never seen you draft like bad teams when you've been in my rooms, but I think, I mean, look, I don't know. Draft however is going to make you happy. As long as you can afford to lose the money, you're going to be happy with it. I would say follow your heart, but the most plus EV way to draft in my mind, just so we could all be on the same page or how I feel about it, spread your drafts out as best you can, get the different info windows as best you can, push the advantages you have in terms of information during each window as best you can. You got another month and a half of this draft. It's a lot of information that's going to get solidified. I think that's what led to my big board success last year, was really focusing on the things that were projectable and could be solidified. And I advanced at the best rate of any tournament I had last year on the big board. Any tournament I've ever done, my big board advance rate, my finals rate was better than anything I could have done. So that's my feedback from having a really good big board year. Follow your heart. You got a few drinks and it's feeling. I guess if you had a few drinks and you're feeling it, then just go for it. Be the gritty you want to see in the world. Sure. I think best ball EV is a really hard conversation to have for a lot of people, because I think they all, and not about Rod specifically, but in general across, you look at Twitter, you'll get it. People all think they know better. And like when you do this for, and Rod may be doing it with his volume, I assume he is doing it for 4 or 5 years. But a lot of people out there are doing it for 1 year, 2 year, and they're out there giving really big advice. And frankly too, like I was doing that when I did this concept in my first year in best ball. I really mostly listened to Pete and didn't try to chime in like I was smarter in the room. Would say that for a lot of the stuff you get in social media, it's a lot of blind leading the blind. And you have your 70% advance rate guys that whatever. I don't know. Just try to be a little more balanced. All right, here's Rod's take again. And Rod, I think knows what he's talking about. 125K last year, so losing the big board won't be too upset. Had success in the big board last year, too. Advanced 60 out of 150. Okay, so you advanced similar rate to me. Josh Palmer went. That's a bummer. Really wanted Josh Palmer as one of these bailout receivers late, but he goes 200 here. GDE Jesus paying attention, unfortunately. Yeah, look, you got to gamble how you want to gamble. That's always going to be the thing. Sure. Hey, same thing, Rod. I get it. I get it. I just like, just for me personally, seeing a lot of people on social media, like I kind of have to be the worry wart, I think, in this space for some people. Cause like, again, when you see it too throughout the full life cycle of like people's excitement and optimism in January and February, obviously when BBM opens in May, June, whatever, even their optimism at the beginning of the season when their shit starts to hit. And you see people getting so fucking toxic and angry. And I frankly think that's a large part for being candid about like Underdog's issues right now. The expectation setting is not there as a company. It's not there in a lot of the content creators. If nothing else, I will give you a realistic expectation setting here because that's what I do for myself. And I think it's important. I think I know this shit as well as anybody in the world. Like I really think if you put me up against anybody in terms of just knowing every player and what their potential outcomes are, I think I'm as good as anybody you'll find out there at it. But it's also like the variance, the risk. It's a lot that comes together for it. We have a 2-5-6-3 here. Again, we lost the bailout for Josh Palmer. We will take the really big contract bailout for Darius Slayton. I was thinking of Palmer, Slayton turn here, but I could live with this. Would like to get one more receiver here. I like Fannin. Fannin is house money at this point, I think. The Juwan Johnson is like a real player, just got a real contract. Fannin is like a total whimsy here, but I'm going to take Harold Fannin. Now that Josh Palmer's here, plans are out the window. So we got a 2-5-7-4 here. Lamar Jackson, Brock Purdy as our QBs. Again, we are staying at 2 for the guy Brett who was asking. No reason to add the third here when you have QBs that are that good. If these guys fail, then the season's over anyway. Ashton Genty, Devon Achane, Tyjae Spears, Rico Dowdle, Rashad White as our RBs. I think you could still add a 6th RB on here because of Rashad White and Rico, but I like these guys enough. I mean, Rashad White I don't like as a player, but I like him at his cost. Rico at his cost, I think, is real low, going at 155 for a guy who should sign somewhere as kind of their we didn't get anybody else guy. Like if Rico Dowdle goes to Cleveland, he's probably going 40 spots higher, I would think. So Rico Dowdle priced himself out of Dallas, but might price himself into a better job. Zay Flowers, Chris Godwin, Juwan Jennings, Jalen McMillan, Rashad Bateman, Jalen Royals, Darius Slayton as our wide receivers. So 2 late guys I like as my savior plays here. I would throw Jaden Higgins in that mix as well at this point. And Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Hunter Henry, Harold Fannin, a 4 tight end room because we did double up our tight ends to 20-round draft. I feel good at my other positions, so going 4 tight ends today. And guys, if you got value in this video, whether it is talking about the EV of stuff or, again, the data, the things that we all, or that I in particular, labor over every day, please subscribe down below. Please hit the like button, leave a comment. It goes a long way for me here. Trying some different thumbnails, too. So, hey, you got DK. Look at DK Metcalf. Look how disgusted I am with DK Metcalf back there. That's what you're getting now in terms of my effort level. So please do hit the like and subscribe. Get a last-minute stream here. I know the views aren't going to be stellar, but if you hit the like button, maybe more people will watch it. That's the hope. And NBA, too, coming up on the Splash Play NBA channel today at 4 p.m. Eastern. So come join over there. And that's that. Investing in big boards, 2025 stock market. There you go. Spags data sheets. Thank you for that. Yes, all my data sheets. If you join down below for $4.99, you get all my college data, which is lovingly pinned into one Discord channel. You also get my matchup sheets throughout the year, which will stay on that $5 tier. And of course, if you want to get my rankings when they come out, the moment they drop, you'll know. And I'm writing up blurbs. I'm moving guys around. I'm trying to let free agency settle enough because I want to be able to not have to do really massive updates a couple weeks in a row. My rankings coming soon. That's the Squirt Squad VIP tier, Squirt Squad tier. If you want the exportable version or the readable version, they are both available to you guys if you join down below. But join the Discord, nothing else. Really think doing the best I can to make the Discord valuable. And obviously, you see our chat, you see our community. We have good guys. So if you are especially if you're a married man who likes playing, who likes gambling, but not going ham on gambling, I think we have a really good channel for that right now. But thank you, Mr. Popinski, for the kind words, though. I would love to see Chargers roll out Najee plus Rico to attack lineman, tight end, wide receiver, and draft. That would be fun. They still are live to get that Quentin Johnston replacement, I think. Like the fact they were in the hunt for DK Metcalf didn't get him, that tells me they know they need a better boundary receiver. I think they're live for that. Bringing in Ingram tells you, too, that they wouldn't mind getting somebody else in addition to Will Dissly. Though the draft capital you need for one of the good tight ends maybe a little bit high. I think for them, and well, people think Arroyo might go like second round. I don't buy that because he just wasn't that great at Miami. If they get Arroyo third, fourth round, which I think is more likely where he goes, Elijah Arroyo would be like a nice fit for them because he's like a touchdown hound, can develop more, can hopefully become more of a target earner. Disley has in that offense. But I think the Chargers, from what I've seen resource-wise, they're really smart about using capital so far, which I'm a little surprised by for, boomer kind of coded team. All right, we got 2 picks here. 2-5-7-4 build. I would say we're done at tight end, I think. Really don't want to do any late. DeAndre Hopkins went, so we're not going to do any more late Baltimore stacking. Felton is a guy who I do think athletic profile looks good enough to take that shot, but he's now gone. Torrey Horton tested like an athletic beast. I think we're just going to take young guy hope picks here. A wide receiver. Do I want the 6th RB? Audric Estime still here as a free player. McLaughlin still here as a free player. Wide receivers. Frankly, DeMarcus Robinson for free. We've got Purdy. That's actually the perfect kind of click to make here. DeMarcus Robinson. I should have made that click first. So our 9th receiver here spent a little bit less early capital and frankly a little bit less mid-tier capital. But I like the end game here of these guys. 2 good athletes in Horton and Royals. 2 guys have been signed to teams that clearly are going to try to use them with Slayton and DeMarcus Robinson. So 2-5-9-4 build is my final here. Definitely unique too. Lamar and Purdy. We took Jency and Achane early, so we tried to really dial back after that, assuming these guys will make our lineups more often than not. Tajay, Rico, Rashad White, wide receiver Zay Flowers, Chris Godwin, Juwan Jennings, Jalen McMillan, so the Tampa Bay stack without the QB. Rashad Bateman here makes the lineup as well for our Baltimore stack. Jalen Royals, Darius Slayton, Torrey Horton, who shocked me with his combine testing. He should get drafted. DeMarcus Robinson, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Hunter Henry, and Harold Fannin as your tight ends. I think it's a sick team. I think I stuck the landing on this one. Got good depth. Feel good about it. Shout out Rod here. Join the channel. Welcome to the family, Rod. I'm not going to do the Italian voice anymore, but I appreciate you joining here. Rod, make sure, now that you're a member, join the Discord link down below. Sync it to your YouTube. It'll add you automatically to the channel. But do get in there, and I appreciate it. Really nice to hear, Rod. My first YouTube sub. I'm glad to hear it. Hopefully it'll be worth the value here. But appreciate Rod being on board. He's done 150 big board drafts, and if he joined, you should join too. But that's it for drafts today, guys. I'll be back next week again, probably on Friday, but we'll see if the urge bites me again. I'll show up here. Make sure to subscribe down below, hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever I go live. Make sure to join down below as well. Get in the Discord. I think we're building a really nice Discord community. It's one of my goals here for the year was to build the community here that we have on chat, give it kind of a place to go, and also one where I could put my information out, stuff that I think is important for NBA, for NFL, coming up for MLB as well. So please do join down below, add yourself to the Discord for just $5. You'll get on there. And if you want my ranks and stuff, those are the higher dollar tiers, your Squirt Squad tier, your VIP tier. We don't have an Underdog promo code, so don't support them right now. Go check out support the other shows, the other things here. Unabated 20% off. Great betting partner for me. Their NBA deal in particular is really good for you if you get in for the rest of the season. And you'd be up $45,000 using unabated money if you bet only 30 minutes before tip-off every day. All the bets they recommend. It'd be even better for you if you bet when the projections come out every day at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Really, I don't do a good job selling this, I feel like, but it is really a thing where if you want to make money in betting, you want to build your bankroll for basketball, if you don't have, like our guy Rod didn't crush last year and you want to get some easier way, like kind of like cash games just to be in DFS, betting is your way to do it using good data like Unabated. So check it out, 20% off. And Stochastic, you want to play some DFS and lose that money, you can do that. Stochastic has been crushing lately in NBA in particular. You see their avatars up top every night, including the CEO, Tom, was my boss for many years. Still, great contact of mine. He was 5th place, finishing behind a couple other Stochastic avatars. So that's what you're getting with Stochastic data, 15% off. The only promo they have going for DFS, for PGA, for NASCAR, for all the stuff, for any sport you want, 15% off for all the data and Sims tools. Of course, gamble responsibly, even though it's always money time here. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. Again, get in the Discord. Really, if you are a regular guy here, or if you are a normal guy, but also if you're a regular here, again, really would love to see more of you guys in there and try to, again, trying to make it a good community there, and that's the goal every day. But see you guys again soon. See you on NBA at 4 p.m. Also on Stochastic at 5:30 today for the deeper dive. Watch one of them. Enjoy your days, guys. Good luck, and hit me up with anything else you need. Bye bye.